Dean Bokhari here, and welcome to another Club 12 live training right here on Substack Live. Now, for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Dean Bokhari. I'm an author, speaker, trainer on all things personal growth. Thank you all so much for being here. Now, here at Club 12, we cover a new self-improvement topic every month. And this month is all about habits, which is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Honestly, I geek out about this stuff. That's how you know you're passionate about something, is when you geek out about something that most people don't. So today, we are going to talk about some ideas on how to build strong habits, particularly what I call high leverage habits or keystone habits, which is what some people call it. And I'm going to share a little bit about that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some ideas as well, some unconventional ideas that you may not have heard of, that people don't talk about, that you can't really get from ChatGPT by just typing in, how do I build a habit? Right? My goal here is to share some of those unconventional ideas with you on how to build good habits, install good habits in your life to help you achieve the goals you want to achieve, to bring in the success that you want in your life, to live life at the highest level, right? Because that's what we're all looking for. I just want to double check one more time, guys, before we really get into it. Can everybody hear me okay? If you can hear me, drop a thumbs up emoji or a fire emoji or your favorite emoji, or just say, I can hear you. Just drop it in the chat for me, will you? If you can hear me, do me a favor, please. Just say that you can hear me in the chat. Oh, you're dropping hearts. Does that mean you can hear me? Perfect. All right. All right. Very good. So we are going over habits here in this workshop today on Substack Live. And habits are something, guys, that we all have in our lives, right? We've all got habits. Now, the thing is, most of the habits that we've got are built unconsciously, right? They're things that we just do without really thinking about. They're habits that we've picked up without really consciously designing them. Like things like, for instance, brushing your teeth every morning, that's a habit, right? You don't really think about doing it. You just do it in the morning. Just like when you back your car out of the garage in the morning, right? You're not thinking about every little step that is involved with, putting your car in reverse and then checking behind your rearview mirror and making sure you don't hit anybody on the way out, right? You just back your car out of the garage and then boom, you get going. Sometimes you get all the way to work and you don't even realize what happened. You just got there. Boom. That's habit. A habit is an automatic behavior that we do with little to no conscious thought or effort. And the reason why I love habits so very much is because if you can get yourself to pick a handful of habits that you want to support the goals you want to achieve, to support the lifestyle you want to live, to achieve the success that you want, right? It's like a fast lane to success. Habits are insanely powerful. And so high leverage habits are sort of like super habits, right? They're those kinds of habits that when you build them, when you install them, several other areas of your life also come up in the process. So, for example, my first sort of exposure to habits was, maybe 20 years ago now, when I first built a fitness habit, right? When I started working out and started, focusing on my health and fitness. And I realized that on the days when I worked out, right, I felt more focused. I had more mental focus. I had more energy. I wasn't as like brain fog wasn't there. I felt better. I walked taller. I had more energy. I wasn't fatigued. I slept better. My focus sharpened. My anxiety went down. Right. And so that is an example of a high leverage habit where when you build it, multiple other areas of your life come up. And so at the end of this workshop or towards the end of the workshop, I'm going to drop a link, or somebody on my team is going to drop a link to this workbook that you can have and use to build your own high leverage habits in your own life. And it'll take you through this process of questions that you assess on your own, right? Just rate different areas of your life, and it'll help you identify, hey, what is that high leverage habit that I need to install that's going to take me where I want to go? So I'm going to drop a link to that for you towards the end of this workshop. And in addition to that, from building your high leverage habit, in this workshop, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, some of the other high leverage habits you can build and some of the ideas that you can use to build pretty much any habit that you want, right? Some other examples, by the way, of high leverage habits are things like daily journaling, for instance, right? If you want to build a daily journaling habit, what's that going to do? It's going to decrease your anxiety. It's going to help you focus. It's going to reduce your overwhelm, right? Building a daily planning ritual, right? Just writing out your schedule every day or writing out a to-do list. What does that do? That's a high leverage habit. Why? Because it gives you clarity about the work that you've got to do each day. It gives you more family time, right? If you organize your day, you're not thinking about what do I do next and all that stuff, right? You have a plan. And when you have a plan, you work quickly. You're more productive. You're focused. You're attacking tasks and you're getting them done. And that gives you more time, gives you more free time to do other things that you want to do. So those are some examples of high leverage habits. Now, where do habits actually come from, right? Where do they come from? Right? There's two types of habits. Well, before we get into that, let me share where habits come from. There's three parts in the creation of pretty much any habit. No matter what kind of habit you want to create, you need a cue. You need a routine, which is the actual behavior that you want to turn into a habit. And then you want to give yourself a reward. Those are the basics of really what a habit is made of, right? So your cue, for instance, if you want to become an early riser, right? If you want to wake up in the morning and work out, for instance, your trigger might be your alarm clock, right? And then the routine is the part where you actually get up, right? Bump, bump, bump. You hear that alarm clock, boom, that triggers you to get up. And then you do the routine, which is the behavior you want to turn into a habit, want to make automatic. And then you want to make sure you've got a reward, right? And not just any reward, but one that you actually look forward to, right? Something that you can crave. That's a key idea. For instance, if you want to build a workout habit, you want to give yourself, something delicious to enjoy after your workout, like your favorite protein shake or something. And you want to look forward to it while you're actually doing the workout so that it helps you finish strong. So that's a very basic idea of where habits come from. Now, the next idea that I wanted to share with you is that I think a lot of folks don't really distinguish about habits is that there are two main types of habits, right? There are lifestyle habits and then there are achievement habits, right? So lifestyle habits are habits that never end. They're ongoing, right? Work out, eat healthy, meditate regularly, have family dinner at least a few days a week, go for a walk every day, stuff like that. Those are lifestyle habits. And then there are achievement habits. And these have like a set outcome, right? You've got a goal, for instance, write a book by this time next year. Right now, you've got to think about, hey, what are the habits I've got to install that I've got to develop in order to get myself to finish this book and have it done and ready to go? That might mean writing 500 words a day. If you have the goal of running a marathon in 6 months, right? That is an achievement habit. So you might have to think, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to practice? What are the habits I need to install each day in order to get myself conditioned and ready to rock and roll so I can crush that marathon, right? So there are two types of habits. You've got lifestyle habits and achievement habits. Some other examples, right? So if lifestyle habits are morning journaling, getting on a consistent sleep schedule, having a daily planning ritual, even simple stuff like drinking water first thing in the morning or thinking about 3 things you're grateful for, doing a weekly review if you want to become more productive, right? Those are lifestyle habits. Achievement habits, more examples might be if you want to be, let's say you want to save an extra $10,000 by December, right? You would say, okay, my habit needs to be, I've got to save $200 a week. If you want to be conversational in Spanish, right, for a vacation you're about to take to Spain, right? So you practice Spanish 20 minutes a day. If you want to deepen your relationship, right, with your wife or husband, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you're into, right, you might say, okay, I've got to have one honest, empathetic, vulnerable conversation per week to have a thriving, loving, deep relationship, right? So that is an achievement habit. So the next idea I've got for you on building strong habits is about making your habits friction free by using what I call habit ramps. So let's say you want to build a reading habit, right? What would make it easier, right? Maybe having your book within arm's reach on your nightstand would be an easier way for you to sort of make it to start, right? You just want to make it easy for yourself to do the thing that you want to do. If you want to build a fitness habit, for instance, right? If you want to be able to wake up in the morning and go straight to the gym, what would make it frictionless? That might mean having your gym bag ready to go, having your gym clothes laid out, having your workout gear and all that stuff ready to go, your pre-workout, your vitamins, your post-workout, protein shake, all that stuff. If you're going to go to work right after you get out of the gym, right, you have your work clothes ready to go as well. Or you could do what I do, which is I just go to sleep in my gym clothes. So that way I'm ready to rock and roll as soon as I wake up in the morning. Some other ways might be, if you're to make it frictionless, sticking with this gym habit idea is to have all that stuff ready to go the night before. So when you wake up in the morning, boom, you can, this is what I do. I'll take my vitamins, I drink my water, I have my pre-workout, and I'm already wearing my gym clothes. So boom, I just get up and I go. Right. So I don't have to worry about, oh, what am I going to wear? And where's my gym shoes? And I got to get this thing ready. No, everything's ready to go. Right. If you want to build a meditation habit, how might you make that frictionless? Right. So think about the habits that you want to build and then think about, hey, what can I set up in advance? What are some habit ramps that I can put in place to make it easier to get started, right? To get going. So now we know there's 2 types of habits, right? We know that there's every habit that you want to build depends on a 3-step loop known as a habit loop. Now, we also talked about how do we make our habits friction free. Now, there's something called temptation bundling that I want to share with you. Right? When you build a habit by attaching it to a habit you already enjoy doing, things get a lot easier. Right? So I remember reading about this guy who was having trouble getting himself to work out. And he wanted to do cardio every day on this exercise bike. So what he did is he got his exercise bike. He brought it into his living room because he was addicted to watching Netflix. Like he would just sit there and just binge. So he told himself, I am not going to watch Netflix unless I'm also working out. Right. So unless I'm also on my exercise bike. So he moved that thing into his living room in front of his TV. And now he gets to get himself into the habit of working out while also doing something that he enjoys, which is binging Netflix. So that's called temptation bundling. When you attach something that you enjoy doing and you only let yourself do it when you are doing the habit that you want to build. So another example might be if you want to build the habit of doing a weekly financial review, right? You know you should do it, you just don't, right? But do you look forward to that one podcast maybe that you like to listen to, or that playlist, or some show that you really enjoy, right? A simple rule could be that you only get the podcast when you open up the spreadsheet for your finances, right? So you attach the habit to something that you enjoy doing and only do it while you're working on the habit. Next up is something that I see over and over and over again, right? Having a habit that you're excited about. A lot of times we want to build these big habits, right? We've got these ambitious habits that we want to build and we get all pumped up about doing it, right? Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's working out, whatever it is. And we're committed to doing it for the first few days, maybe even for the first week or two, but then we fall off. Why? Oftentimes it's because we go too hard too soon, right? And the solution to that is what I call a mini habit, right? Making the bigger habit that you want smaller in the beginning, just to get yourself used to it. Because again, we want to be consistent and we want this to become an automatic behavior. But if you want to start working out and you go balls to the wall the first day you walk into the gym and you work out for an hour because you're so pumped up and enthusiastic about it, right? But you're not used to working out for an hour, right? Then you're going to be so sore the next day, you're not going to want to go back. So the idea is to start small with a mini habit, right? By instead of saying, I'm going to go and work out for an hour, you just start by working out for 20 minutes. Or say you want to do 50 push-ups a day. Instead of just cranking out 50 push-ups every day, because that's not going to be sustainable if you can't remember the last time you did one push-up, right? You say, you know what? Tomorrow, I'm just going to do one push-up. The idea is to make it so easy in the beginning, right? When you're starting off, make it so simple that you'd feel silly not doing it, right? If you want to start building a journaling habit, if you want to journal every day, we all know that's good for us. But if you can't seem to get yourself to stick with it and sustain that habit, instead of saying, I'm gonna journal 3 or 4 pages every day, you just say, you know what, I'm just gonna start by writing one sentence. I'm just gonna journal one sentence. Or I'm just gonna write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. And that's it. Boom, I'm gonna close it. Right. So you want to make it easy to start, because when you can make it easy to start, you build momentum, right? And when you've got momentum on your side, you become unstoppable. So the idea is to start small, right? Do little actions, take small steps daily, and then build up from there. Next up, we've got habit stacking, right? This is when you take a habit that you already have, right? Like daily journaling or gratitude or something like that, or you've got the habit of drinking your morning coffee, right? Writing 3 sentences every day after pouring your morning coffee. That is an example of a habit stack, right? So it's when you take a habit that you already have and attach a new habit to it. So again, an example of that might be is you've got you want to do daily journaling, right? You journal and you pour your coffee and then you journal. It's like doing things that you already do and then attaching the habit you want to build to it. Now, here's one that I would say, if you tossed all of the ideas that I shared with you and you just kept one, this would be the one to keep when it comes to building strong habits. And that is that emotions create habits. Emotions create habits. This is the strongest idea that most people don't know about. And as I was thinking about, what's an example that I can share when I talk about this one today? I remembered Some years ago when my daughter Nora was, gosh, she was around 4 or 5 years old. And one thing that we used to do is this sort of weekly ritual that we had is every morning on Saturdays, every Saturday morning, we'd go for like a 7 mile jog, right? I'd put her in the stroller and we'd jog to this juice bar a few miles away from our house called Nectar. And we'd go and I'd get her in a acai bowl and I'd have a green juice and then we'd run back. So it was like 3 miles, 3.5 miles there, 3.5 miles back home. And this was our Saturday thing. Every Saturday we would do it. And I remember this one Saturday, it was blazingly hot outside. It was a really, really hot day in SoCal. And we're running. And on the way back home, we get to the juice bar, we do our thing, and then we're running back home. And we're like a mile away from home. My daughter Nora looks up at me from the stroller and she's like, Dad, when we get home, can we just jump into the pool just with our clothes on and everything? Just jump into the pool. And I was wearing like a tank top and some sweats, and my daughter had like a dress on. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, mommy's not home today. Let's do it. And so we get home. I take her out of the stroller. We both jump right into the pool with our gear on, our clothes on. And she just loved it. She just had such a blast with it. And so did I, honestly. Now, here's the interesting part. 1 week later, when we went out to do our Saturday morning run, again, on the way back home, as we're jogging about a mile away from our house, she looks up at me again and she's like, Dad, can we go and jump into the pool again with our clothes on? And this is an example of like, wow, she had so much fun. She attached so many positive emotions to that one simple thing that it automatically now has become a habit for her, right? Like she locked it in. She's like, whoa, I want to do this again. Now, you can apply this to everything. You can apply this to everything. If you want to work out, and you want to develop the habit of working out regularly, well, you want to think about, hey, how many positive emotions can I attach to this so that it can become something that I'm pulled to do rather than something that I got to push myself to do? You get what I mean? Like something that excites you, that pumps you up. And you want to gather as many positive emotional references as you possibly can towards doing the behavior you want to do so that you feel pulled towards doing it. And if you really want to give it power, you give yourself some negative emotions as well for not doing it. You think about, hey, what's going to happen if I don't work out? Oh man, I'm going to feel crappy. I'm not going to be as focused. I'm not going to have as much energy, right? So then you've got something that's pushing you from not doing the habit, and then you've got something that is pulling you towards doing the actual habit. Another example of attaching emotions to habits is, let's say you want to meditate every morning, right? You attach an emotion to it by thinking about how it's going to feel when you do it, right? You relish in the calm that you're going to experience. Your anxiety is going to go down. You just pick up as many positive emotions as you possibly can, gather as many positive references as you can, and attach them to the habit to help it lock in, right? So that is probably the most powerful idea that most folks just don't realize or know about when it comes to building strong habits. Which takes me to the next idea, which is, how long does it take to build a habit? Right? How long does it take? Because you may have heard that it takes 21 days to build a habit. And I can tell you that that is a myth. It's been proven as a myth. Now, for some folks, it might take 21 days to build a habit, but generally speaking, it's a total myth. Habits can take hold. If you use your emotions, habits can take hold in as little as a day or two, or it can take months. It really varies from person to person. A group of researchers even studied this, and what they realized is that on average, it takes about 66 days to form for a person to form a habit, for you to turn a behavior into an automatic habit, meaning you just do it, there's no friction, you're just rocking and rolling. But even that study, like there was a huge sort of variance there, right? For some people, it took 200 days. For other people, they were able to lock it in just a few days. But on average, it was 66 days to turn a behavior into a habit. Now, what about effort, right? How hard is it to build a habit, right? How much willpower do you need? How much discipline do you need? Now, any habit that we want to build is going to require upfront effort. It's going to require upfront discipline, but only for a little while. Now, here's where people get tripped up. They think, "Oh my gosh, you know, I want to start waking up at 5 a.m., but man, it's so hard, right? And it's the morning time. I'm just so comfortable and cozy. I just want to get under the covers. I don't want to get up." Right? And you gotta push yourself, and there's so much effort involved, and people give up before the hump, so to speak, like before it gets easy, right? The idea behind any habit that you wanna build is it's gonna require upfront discipline juice in the beginning. You're gonna need willpower, you're gonna need to put in effort, but only for a little while. And a great visual that I like to share when I train folks on this is, you know, if you look at a rocket ship, right, when in order to launch a rocket ship, this huge thing that weighs thousands of tons, right? Think about it. There's so much energy that goes into that. So all this fuel, all this energy, you got to push this thousands of tons worth of steel into the air, right? And you got to push, push, push so much energy, so much energy, so much fuel, so all that fire that's coming from underneath the rocket to get it up, to get it up, get it up, get it up until it breaks past the Earth's atmosphere. At which point, what happens? That rocket booster detaches, right? And then they get in space, and now they're floating, right? That's how I see habits. When you are building a habit, it's going to require a lot of juice in the beginning. It's going to be tough in the beginning, but eventually you're going to be on cruise control. It's going to become automatic. Now, if you need support with building that habit, support with those early challenges, I'd like to encourage you to join us inside of Club 12, because we are all this month, we're talking about habits, talking about making them easier, talking about building them and installing the right habits for yourself to get to where you want to be in your life, whether that is health related, whether that's business or career related, whether that's with your relationships, whether that's just building small habits that will make your life easier. Right. So we are starting a challenge soon on that as well. And I'm going to have somebody in my team right now drop a link to the workbook. Amna, if you're there, you can go ahead and drop the link for folks if they would like the high leverage habits workbook. And you can use that, by the way, on your own time to sort of design your own high leverage habits, to figure out which ones you need, all that good stuff. It's a beautiful workbook and you can download it totally on me. But if you want real support, I would encourage you to join Club 12. Right now, you can get 3 months for free if you become an annual member. And by the way, guys, if you got any questions about building habits, drop it inside the chat. Drop it in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. Yeah, guys, sorry. I was just looking at some notes from my team here. Yes. All right. Now I can see the chat too. So Susan says, I think the challenge is finding the approach that best works for you and not making too many. Yeah, that is huge. That is huge. You don't want to build too many habits at the get go because it's, again, building a habit requires upfront discipline. You don't want to you don't want to divide your attention here, right? So focus on one big habit at a time, lock that in, and then once it's automatic, you can start working on the next one. That is really the best way to build any habit. Right. So guys, I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes here and somebody, yeah, Amna, one of my team members has just dropped the link for you to get the habit building workbook, the high leverage habits workbook. So you can download that. And that workbook is going to help you decipher which habits, what your high leverage habit needs to be for you specifically. And you'll learn about how to build it as well. So, you know what, guys? You want me to share a few more tips on building habits as we wrap things up? You know, another good one is making if then plans for your habits. Right. So, for example, if you want to, one thing that I'm big on is having green juice every morning. Right. And I like to make it fresh. And making a single glass of green juice, like an 8-ounce glass, can take 20 minutes. You got to use a slow juicer. You got to put the vegetables in, and then you got to, press the juice out. And then you get this beautiful green glass of juice. Right. Now, I don't always have time to put into making a full glass of green juice. So, as a backup plan, right, if I'm short on time and I got to run, then and I can't make my green juice, dedicate the time to making it, then I've got a bag of athletic greens and I'll just have the green juice powder instead. It's quick, right? Another example might be if I can't dedicate a full 90 minutes to my full workout today, right? You know what? I'll just do 30 minutes on the stair stepper, right? And you can break this down as small as you want, but the idea is just getting yourself to actually do it. Getting yourself to actually do it, right? And as we wrap it up, one just a few more things I want to share with you on this is, let's say that you want to your for high leverage habits, right? What happens when you have a daily planning ritual, right? That is a high leverage habit, right? If you plan your day every day, you're going to have clarity about the work that you need to do. Your overwhelm is going to reduce. You're going to open up more pockets of time to do other things you want to do. You'll have more momentum, right? If you want to develop a daily writing practice, right? What's that going to do? That's a high leverage habit, right? It gives you sharper thinking. It accelerates a specific goal, right? It helps you organize your thoughts, right? Those are examples of high leverage habits. What are examples of just regular habits, right? Just regular habits might be eating healthy, right? That's not a high leverage habit because it focuses mainly on nutrition, right? And health. But working out, exercising is a high leverage habit. Why? Because when you exercise, it naturally makes you want to eat healthier. You get what I mean? So it lifts up other areas of your life. Let's see. Checking email first thing in the morning, right? That's just a regular habit, right? That might be a habit you want to break. Let me give you guys. There's another great one. This one comes from a book called Atomic Habits, called The Four Laws of Behavior Change. Right? If you want to, and this is like a simple set of principles that you can use to break bad habits and build strong habits. Right? So If you want to make it, if you want to build a strong habit for yourself, a good habit, right? You want to make it obvious, you want to make it attractive, you want to make it easy, and you want to make it satisfying, right? You make it obvious, for example, by not hiding the books that you want to read or the fruits and vegetables that you want to eat, right? You display them prominently to remind yourself to form better habits. You might establish a running habit by placing your running shoes at the foot of your bed, right? We've touched on some of this already throughout this training. Number two is you want to make it attractive, right? You want to read the books that you like to read if you want to become a regular reader. It will encourage you to read more. You want to make establishing a running habit more attractive by getting a nice pair of running shoes and some new workout clothes, for instance. The next idea, the next law is to make it easy, right? If you want to eat more fruits and vegetables, right? Eat the fruits that are easy to eat. If your target habit is to go jogging for at least 45 minutes a day, you can make it easier to create that running habit if you start small, right? By scaling this target habit down to a tiny habit or a mini habit, like just jog for 5 minutes a day. And then lastly, you want to make it satisfying, right? If you're satisfied, you're going to want more. If you want to make your running habit more satisfying, you might prepare a delicious, healthy meal to enjoy when you finished your run. And then if you want to break bad habits, you just reverse the laws, right? You make them invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. Right? If you want to establish healthy eating habits, you hide the junk food if you want to stop eating junk food, right? Put it away or just purge your pantry, get rid of it all. Right? You make it unattractive by remembering that junk food feels great while you're eating it, right? But diabetes doesn't. Right? So think of the latter if you're working on breaking your junk food habit. You make it difficult to eat junk food by making it hard to find your junk food by asking a family member to hide it for you or by just purging your pantry again. You make it unsatisfying by, look at the nutrition label. If you're trying to quit eating junk food, just look at the nutrition label on your favorite junk food and look up the ingredients that you haven't heard of or can't pronounce. Right? Once you learn what they really are, how much damage they're really doing to your body, it's going to be a heck of a lot less satisfying if you still decide to munch away. So, whenever you want to build a positive habit, ask yourself, how can I make it obvious? How can I make it attractive? How can I make it easy? How can I make it satisfying? When you want to break a negative habit, ask yourself, how can I make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying? All right, guys, we are going to go ahead and start to wrap here. Once again, if you want to download the High Leverage Habits Workbook, feel free to go ahead and do so. It will help you identify what high leverage habits you want to build into your own life. And all right, somebody's going to drop the link. For those of you I see in the chat, you can't see the link for the workbook. We're going to drop it in there again. But once again, if you want to if you really need support with regard to building habits, we're going to be starting inside of Club 12, a habit building challenge within the next few days. And that'll give you step-by-step support with regard to building and installing the habits that you need to accomplish your goals, to succeed over the long run, to meet your ambitions. And we're going to go over that step by step each and every day. Once again, if you do want to join, come on board. You get 3 months for free if you become a Club 12 member within the next handful of days. I forgot what the date was where we are ending that, but it's available right now. So guys, you can go ahead and download that workbook. Enjoy it. Let me see here. I'm just looking at some notes from my team. What do we say here? Oh, Susan says the workbook is amazing. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Awesome. Awesome. Oh man, Jesse, thank you for the kind words. Man, I wish we could save. I'm going to screenshot these these chats because you guys are just dropping some wonderful, saying so many kind things. I really appreciate you. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found some value here. If you want to go deeper, please come on board and join us inside of Club 12. I love doing these live trainings. They are a blast. And I'll see you all on the next one. I'll hang out for just a couple more minutes and answer any questions if you've got them. Otherwise, thank you very much for being here, guys.